Welcome to About Last Night. My name's EJ Moreno, and this is the show where I talk about the movie I saw last night. This week's movie is fairly different than what I normally talk about. I like to keep things in the strange and unusual, but I'm going to talk about a fairly normal Hollywood film, and it's the new Tom Cruise movie, American Made. American Made is the newest movie from director Doug Liman and actor Tom Cruise. This is actually their second time doing a movie together after the awesome sci-fi action movie that is Edge of Tomorrow. So I have fairly high hopes going into this. Like Doug Liman, okay, I enjoy Doug Liman sometimes. He's fairly hit or miss. For every swingers he has a movie like Jumper. So I really don't know how to feel about him. But with Edge of Tomorrow, I really enjoyed what he did. So I'm even looking forward to the Edge of Tomorrow sequel. So I have faith in Doug Liman. I have faith in Tom Cruise. I'm not a big Tom Cruise hater. I understand that for every one good movie he has a pretty bad movie. Like he has an American Made, and also earlier this year he has a Mummy. So here's the good film, now here's the bad film. American Made is not a great film by any means. I will give this a solid C+, a 7 out of 10. It is fine, it does its job, but it doesn't go above and beyond. And maybe I'm a little let down because Doug Liman, he's proven that he can go above and beyond with a movie like Edge of Tomorrow. He even tried to push the boundaries with a movie like Jumper. No matter how bad Jumper is, at least he tried something. So now he's trying to tell a more normal story, a more scaled back story, a story that my biggest complaint is, why was it told? What about this movie screamed out and tells audience members, you need to see this? And for me, there's really nothing. There's nothing fresh and new about it. And this is telling a story about probably the most boring guy within all of this crazy drama. You focus on the guy who's flying the plane. We have guys like Pablo Escobar. We even have guys in the military like Ollie North. But we tell the story about Barry Seals, this pilot. It's so interesting. It's so white middle America kind of appeal. It's just like, look at this guy who tried to do the American dream, but corrupt and dirty and not too nice. So while I don't think every movie character needs to be a morally just bright spot of a character, he needs to be a good guy. No, I like an anti-hero. I like a dirty guy, but why this dirty guy? Why this anti-hero? Like I said, there is really nothing that I'm like, yep, I really needed to see this movie. Oh boy. And that really is no shade to this movie because honestly, it's competent made, it is fine, it is okay, but I get to a point where I'm like, why? I especially see when this movie is getting an IMAX release in select theaters and I'm like, why is this movie in IMAX? Who's clamoring for that? This movie is fine. That the camera works okay, the editing is interesting, the acting is it's fine. That's this whole movie. It's fine. It's on autopilot. I know, movie about planes and an autopilot pun. You're gonna see that 100 times, but that's truly how I feel this movie was. Is Doug Liman and Tom Cruise? They've done these kind of movies probably in and out. This is this is a cakewalk for them. So they're just like, whatever. We're just gonna coast through, and it truly was on autopilot from the director to the actors.
See, I'm gonna walk out of here. There ain't a damn thing any one of you can do about it.
He's free to go.
Wait a minute. The boy should have taken a caddies.
I personally expected this movie to be like a modern day Blow. Blow is the movie that came out, I think, in 2001 starring Johnny Depp. It was a pretty great drug movie. It was about George Young, who was kind of this mastermind of all this drug trades, and it was really, really interesting. So I had high hopes that American Made was going to be. And at the start, I can see where I'm like, oh, I see where I thought that comparison was going to be there. And then by the fourth montage of the movie, you're just kind of seeing that this is a interesting-ish story and a pretty interesting-ish movie. It really didn't go above and beyond, and that's the problem. Do I think every movie has to be a transcendent kind of piece of cinema? No. But it's 2017. You at least have to try to make an interesting movie. Make something that people care about, people are going to walk away from. Look, we have a movie like Mother a couple weeks ago that no matter what the reaction was, it got a reaction. That's my problem with a movie like American Made. It's fine. It's okay. I don't think anyone's gonna run out and talk about it. It's gonna be a movie like I saw last year. It's a movie called Hands of Stone. I completely forgot about it. I had to be reminded that I saw that movie. There's tons of movies that come out a year where it's just like, it's just filler. They're just kind of, in reality shows, they're called filler queens or just floaters, where they're just there to kind of just pass the time and just get through the year. That's what a movie like American Made is. It's just there to get you through until the next week when the next hottest movie comes out, the next Tom Cruise paycheck comes through, and oh boy, Tom Cruise. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, and that's Tom Cruise's hairline. No, that's just Tom Cruise as an actor. I don't know how to feel about him anymore. Tom Cruise comes off a movie that's so mediocre and so bland like The Mummy, and then he follows it up with a movie that is at least well made and better than The Mummy, but still isn't just pushing the genre or pushing anything forward in cinema or in film or in movies or in blockbuster. This is why we're having such a mediocre blockbuster season because you have movies like this. You have movies that are like, that's fine, I could have caught that on HBO and, done the laundry while this was playing. This isn't anything fresh or anything fun. I will say, for this movie being pretty bland and honestly, for lack of a better word, generic, the filmmaking and the cinematography was really, really interesting. Do I think it justifies an IMAX release? By no means, no. There isn't enough things on an epic scale that I think seeing it on an IMAX screen would make it worth it. But the camera work is interesting. It kind of basically pushed through some boring scenes where they would have interesting camera work. Things like zooms. Zooms are so 70s, and since this movie is based in the late 70s, early 80s, I can definitely see where they wanted to use 70s cinematography, and boy did they. When I talk about the cinematography in this movie, I mean everything from the framing to how the camera moves around in shots. Framing, if you don't know, is how basically people are positioned and set up within a shot. Usually with framing you want good lead room, which means you have room in front of your actors, which this movie did really well to push the story forward. You would see this person here and then have all this space in front of them as they were talking to one, separate distance, and two, just because that's how aesthetically our eyes like to see movies, is these kind of rules that are done without you knowing. But it worked really well to push the story forward, so I applaud that. I really applaud some of the zooms they use in this movie. We're usually told nowadays in filmmaking that you don't use zooms. Zooms aren't professional, they're kind of old school, they're outdated. This movie was definitely trying to homage a time where zooms were used, where certain shots were used. They used a lot of medium close-ups, which is basically a pretty tight shot from head to maybe mid-chest, and it really does kind of put you into that frame, and you're like, oh boy, I'm paying attention to what's happening because I'm tight on these people. So they did a lot of that. They would also go from wide shots and then zoom into that medium close-up. Really applaud that because those are things you don't see often. And it's interesting to see the camera team have to homage a time where things that they're taught now isn't the standard. They're like, oh boy, how do I reference something but still keep it fresh and professional? It was really interesting, and hey, I give the camera team props for trying to elevate pretty generic material that they were given. For all the praise I'll give the camera team, I have to give a little tiny slap on the wrist to the editing team for the amount of montages and stock footage they used. It upsets me to see just montage after montage. It's basically, to me, it's telling, not showing. We'll kind of just gloss over this with a voiceover, do these quick shots, here. Those are some important scenes that I want to see, and you're just going to just get over them real fast for another somewhat dramatic talky scene. That was one of the most upsetting things, is the best moments were kind of glossed over just to show a cool montage, and there was montage after montage. That's a big problem I have. I also have a big problem with seeing stock footage, or just footage that you had that was in the 80s, like kind of news clips and TV clips, and just shove them into the movie. Those are things that we used to make fun of Ed Wood back in the 50s for doing, where he would just find free footage and splice it into his movie. And now we do it to somewhat progress the story, and it's fine. I think it's lazy, and I really think it takes away from the movie. An example I could give you other than American Made that uses stock footage or these older clips to kind of tell their story is a movie like Big Short, the housing crisis movie that came out a couple years ago. Man, did they use so many clips and so much footage from when that actually was happening, and they tried to do it here. It was okay. It just kind of, like I said, it feels lazy, where I'm like, I would rather see you refilm those scenes. Get somebody to play Reagan. You got somebody to play Ollie North, but you don't get a Reagan. These are things that I would have loved to see the filmmakers try to do. With a pretty generic script and some slightly decent filmmaking to elevate it, would I recommend seeing American Made? Yeah, sure, it's okay. This is definitely something to go see at the matinee. You don't pay a lot of money for. It's good early in the morning. It's a fun ride. Or you definitely see it with on cable or on streaming. I would recommend seeing this, but do you need to go out of your way first weekend, be first in line to see it? No. And that's honestly, it's a problem that I wish I could have recommended this. I wish this could have been this generation's Blow or this generation's Scarface, but no, it's just basically a pretty average movie with Tom Cruise in it.